of EMSNOW. I am joined today by Dr. Andreas Reinhardt, who is the R&D Director with SEHO, joining us from Germany today. Andreas, thank you for taking some time to speak with me and tell us more about what's happening at SEHO.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So SEHO is a leading supplier of soldering solutions to the electronics manufacturing industry. Why don't I allow you just to introduce yourself and your company briefly?
Yeah, just a few words about myself. I'm with SEHO 7 years already, so it's short time.
Yeah,
Felt short time. I used to work at the university in electronics production, and I had some research projects with SEHO. So then,
nice
after
transition.
I did my PhD, then I switched to SEHO. Yeah.
Excellent.
And SEHO is now more than 40 years old. So we are located in Kreuzwertheim, which is more or less the so-called soldering valley of Germany, because a lot of soldering companies are just around the corner. And well, we started with wave soldering, and after some time, selective soldering was introduced, and reflow soldering, and the recent developments then were also AOI inspection systems for through-hole components. And another field of business is the handling system. So whatever you need for a whole line.
Yeah, just to keep the things moving, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to spend some time with you today on is really kind of on, cost reduction in electronics manufacturing, and how SEHO's solutions help with that, help your clients with that. And actually, we have a few, I'm going to share my screen very quickly here. We have a few slides to show, and I'm just going to ask you some questions around these. Let me, here, this is good because it's animated. So this is the automatic wave height measurement for wave soldering. Why don't you tell us about this?
Exactly. This is our new measurement system for the wave machines. So in the recent months, almost years, we tried, of course, to make new developments in this old technology, you could say.
Yeah.
And the main reason here is that normally in production, you have your measurement systems, your soldering shuttles, and to ensure that the process is running. And one major thing here is that it's only a one-time measurement. And if you see, okay, something is not in the right parameter settings, you make some adjustments, and then you need to run the measurement again, and maybe again and again, so your whole production is interrupted. And there's not really the possibility for the machine, there has not been a real possibility for the machine to make a measurement by itself, so every hour or every 2 hours. And normally you could also use a glass plate, for example, and make a visual inspection if the solder wave is correct or not. And so we tried, or we made a system that is inside, a measurement system that is inside of the machine. It's basically consisting of this black bar here that is moving. It has some needles inside to do a contact measurement. And we activate the measurement when, for example, some products are not coming, or we have some time to do the measurement. So this is a setting you can adjust. And we just let the wave run in special set that we have the correct point of settings again. And if the settings are not correct, then of course we can automatically readjust the machine, so that you can really ensure that you have always the same parameters, even if you have some clogging of the nozzle, something like that. And you can also have some settings that if some clogging of the nozzle is detected, that the machine is stopped and is calling for maintenance, for example.
For maintenance.
Yeah.
So a lot of increased efficiencies that are provided to the customers. And
yes, of course. Basically, they don't need to care about anymore about the setting of the wave. So normally, or it should be that normally beginning of each shift, there should be a measurement with the shuttle, for example, as I mentioned. And if the measurement is okay, then it's not too bad. But if the measurement is not okay, then you need to do another measurement. So your whole production is influenced, of course.
So does the customer then set the frequency that it is checking, or is that automatic?
Exactly. You can set it. So you can set it every, I don't know, 30th product, or if there's some space left, so the measurement is below 1 minute. So it's really quick.
Okay.
So it's just in between some products you can do the measurement, and the machine is doing it by itself. So it just
yeah, you just set the frequency and then it does it, and the people can go and do other functions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's move to the next one here. I like this one. This is the automatic nozzle height adjustment for wave soldering. Why don't you tell us about this?
Yeah. What we see in more and more products is that they are getting much more complex, and you have different areas in one product. So there are some digital circuits, some high power circuits and all that. And normally you only have one nozzle height for the product as a whole. And what we invented now is that the nozzle height itself can be adjusted during soldering of the product. So the first half, for example, of the product can be produced with a nozzle distance of 6 millimeters, for example, when we really need to be very near to the product. And then if there are some larger components on the bottom of the product, for example, then we can move away the nozzle to 10 millimeters, 12 millimeters, and still achieve a very good soldering result. So yeah.
I was going to ask, since we're wanted to focus on cost reductions, what are the benefits and in terms of cost reductions that customers can derive from this?
Well, it's possible maybe to produce products that could only be produced by selective soldering, which is normally slower, unless you have special multi-nozzle tools. So this would be much more efficient to use the wave soldering machine, and you have much more flexibility for the creation of your mask. So it's possible that you don't need so complex masks anymore, because you can just adjust the distance and use this as your tool.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Here we have one last slide I wanted to show, and this, of course, is the pretty slide. So
yeah.
This is, what do you call this? The Miniwave solder nozzle. Why don't you tell us about that?
Exactly. So this is our new Miniwave selective soldering nozzle, so-called long life nozzle. So as I said, we focused a lot on the soldering process itself, also for selective soldering. What we improved here concerning efficiency was that with our traditional nozzles, there was quite a few maintenance needs. So you need to reactivate the nozzle. For this, we also had an ultrasonic cleaning unit as an option. So this is what we already did in this field. But in addition, if you don't have this ultrasonic cleaning unit, then it would be possible to use this golden nozzle.
Mm-hmm.
It has a special coating, so it's much more stable and doesn't need reactivating. With the standard nozzles, after some time, you could have on one side of the nozzle, there could be oxidation, something like that. So the solder flow is not as steady as it should be, and you can just get soldering failures.
I see.
In this area. And this nozzle is much more stable. There's this coating, and we have a special production process that forms some kind of unique surface of the nozzle. So the combination of this just brings us to those benefits. So there's much less maintenance. We saw, well, for our first customers, we saw that the nozzle is usable more than 3 times longer than the standard nozzles. And yeah, there are less faults in the product because no activation needed. Yeah.
What is a normal lifetime? Is a normal lifetime like a year for a standard nozzle, or?
Oh no, not at all normally.
Okay.
The lifetime of a nozzle, it is dependent on the size of the nozzle. Right now, what we see here, this golden nozzle, it has the outer diameter is 7 millimeters.
Okay.
So this is some kind of standard nozzle you can use for most products, but it is kind of small. For the larger diameters, the lifetime is much longer. But we are looking for a lifetime normally of sometimes 2 shifts, 3 shifts. So not too much. It just depends on the activation and all that. If you have a ultrasonic cleaning unit, then it's normally longer because you don't have manual cleaning. And for smaller nozzles, the lifetime can be reduced a lot more. So
I see.
It's really dependent on the usage.
Okay. Good. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here real quick and bring me back into it. So this is interesting. So how are these being received by the customers?
Right now, very good. For the long life nozzle, we have the most feedback, positive feedback, because it's easier, of course, to send it out and to give the feedback, to receive the feedback, because it's also usable for the existing machines, of course. For the nozzle height adjustment, right now we have the first 2 machines in the field because we just released it, and the feedback is very good. And we see that we have the stability and it's working, and because it needs to move all day and all night, and for 10 years or more. And for the wave height measurements, we also have 2 machines in the field right now, because it's not too easy to implement it on existing machines. So it depends on the PLC we have. The machine cannot be too old to have it integrated. So but right now, I think we had a a few more machines without the pandemic in the field because there would be some more new machines. But we see a good feedback and rising demand, of course.
Yeah. And that's interesting. You mentioned it there, and we haven't touched on it at all, but the whole pandemic obviously has been a big issue this year. So how has that impacted your operations? I see that you're in the office today. You're there making sure everything's working. So what's the impact been of the pandemic on SEHO's operations, and also how's it impacted how you have to communicate and work with customers in the field?
Well, what we saw that I think it was quite similar to most companies in our field due to our delivery times, sometimes 3 months, 4 months, something like that. Of course, we have a delay in all that. What we saw is we had some delays that customer says, okay, we don't know when we need this machine, but we still need it, but I can't say when. There are not, as far as I know, there were no real cancellations that company said we don't need it at all anymore. And right now, business is quite stable. So forecast is okay. Of course, it could be better, but I think we are already away from the bottom. So
right, yeah, let's hope, right? So and that makes sense. That now, is everybody back in the office then, or working, or were people having to work remotely for a period of time for SEHO, and now you're all back together?
We were very quick with remote workspaces. So I think we already introduced it in some time in March. So that basically, except for our production area where the people need to work on the machines, almost everybody could go to home office, and only very few people need to be in the office. So right now, everybody who needs to be here is coming, is working here, and whatever can be done from home should be done from home. And this is, in my opinion, it's accepted very good. So
and it's very common for most companies throughout the industry are operating, I think.
Exactly.
Right. So it's not unusual. I think everybody adjusted well to the new reality that this is inflicted on us. So, well, thank you very much for taking time today. I know normally we do these things on a show floor, and we get to see the. Been a good way to, I think, to bring the show floor, online, and to show some of your equipment. So thank you for making that possible as well. And hopefully can meet up again at a show in the future. It'll probably be 2021 before we can consider that, though. So
probably, yeah. Thank you very much.
No, my pleasure, sir. Thank you very much, and stay safe out there.
You too.